So next up, we're going to stay sort of with software hardware issues, but Cindy Lease, who's our PLC manager, that's the title you want me to use now? You have lots of titles, so I just want to know. That one works. So she's also a software project manager, but so she takes on a couple of different roles, but she manages the group of PLC programmers on that. So Cindy Lease is going to talk about end of life on the equipment side of things. And then I think Brian's going to step in and talk a little bit about software and the end of life on the software side of it as well. All right. So Cindy Lease. Give you the rules. Stay in the square. Put that on your shirt.
Oh, geez.
Put that on your shirt.
First time.
And your clicker's right up.
Where? What now? Alrighty then. So planning for end of life, EOL, DAS, PLC hardware and software. Next one. Yeah. So end of life, programmable logic controller, PLC, and software, GE. General Electric GE 9030, either discontinued or end of life. I believe it's discontinued. The upgrade for that particular model is to keep the 9030 input-output I/O modules, replace the 9030 with the Emerson RX3i base power supply and CPE 310. That is a processor with a power pack that will reserve the program if there's a power interruption. Software is Machine Edition version 10 software to install on the CiSCO DAS computer, and the current CiSCO standard code for RX3i, excuse me. So the next, this is not discontinued, but end of life, better to be replaced is the CPU 310, and it's an upgrade to replace the GE RX3i CPU 310 with an Emerson CPE 310, again, processor and power pack, same upgrade software and same current CiSCO standard code for RX3i. I'm not going to use this pointer. All right, then, so moving on to Allen Bradley, end of life PLC and software. That would be Allen Bradley PLC 5. That's discontinued. And SLC 500, I believe that's another one that's discontinued. Replacement, Allen Bradley Compact 5000 PLC. That's part number that starts with 5069. Processor and I/O modules with a standalone 24-volt DC power supply. The other option is if you particularly have a need for have an area of class 1 div 2 groups A, B, C, D, then the control logics, the replacement would be the control logics PLC, begins with 1756 L71 I/O modules, power supply, Ethernet module, and chassis. The SLC 505 does communicate over Ethernet IP. However, the PLC 5 and the SLC 504 and older models do not communicate over Ethernet IP. Ethernet network must be installed by others as far as connecting through the plant. Studio 5000 version 32 software to install on CiSCO DAS computer, current CiSCO standard code for compact and control logics. Allen Bradley 1769-L35E, the upgrade for this particular processor is the Compact Logic 1769-L33ER, and then the same Studio 5000 version 32 software and current CiSCO standard code for compact and control logics. Allen Bradley 1756-L61 and models with larger memory, such as 62, etc. Those are discontinued. And the upgrade for that model is Allen Bradley Control Logic 1756L71 and models with larger memory capacity. What I didn't put up in this slide is that probably would need to, or would want to upgrade the Ethernet module as well that goes with that. And then keep the IO Studio and use the Studio 5000 version 32 and CiSCO standard code for compact and control logics. Legacy, moving on. Moving on to end of life human machine interface, HMI and software. Legacy non-Allen Bradley HMI panels such as Maple panel, GE Quick panel. The replacement is a panel mount PC or computer, if there is space in the shelter. Load it with CiSCO RealView software with CiSCO standard HMI. Or for Allen Bradley only, Automation Direct EA9 8-inch and 10-inch panel is compatible with CiSCO Allen Bradley Compact Logics and Control Logics, and it has a free software Seymour with CiSCO standard HMI, just not free. Wait for that. Okay, so then there's the legacy Allen Bradley panel view 7 Plus and lower models. The replacement, the Allen Bradley 5310, and that is a part number that starts with 2713, or 5510, part number starting with 2715. And that one is for that 5510 is class 1 Div 2 groups A, B, C, D rating. Again, it uses Studio 5000 version 32 software with CiSCO standard HMI. It's compatible with compact and control logics PLC processor with firmware version 32. And last but not least, end of life PLC Data Link with plant process data controller. Non-Ethernet data links, what I'm referring to here. The replacement or Allen Bradley Ethernet IP or Modbus TCP data link from CiSCO Allen Bradley Compact and Control Logics PLC to plant process data controller, for example, to a distributed control system DCS is required for PLC replacements. Next, the Modbus TCP or Ethernet Global Data EGD data link from CiSCO Emerson RX3i PLC to plant process data controller is required for PLC replacements. Customer is responsible to work with plant process data controller expert to determine what, if any, upgrade to controller, for example, install hardware, firmware, software, and program plant controller to exchange data that is compatible with CiSCO PLCs. And that is all I have. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
A lot of numbers there.
Thank you all. Yeah.
You guys, I mean, I know we have a place to dispense those computer parts and all that stuff, but
Okay.
and it's obsolete, but you run into that issue where a lot of people have so much left over.
I haven't personally been told that. I would imagine it's Cliff here. I would imagine some of the PLC programmers have been, or possibly Brian. Nope. Or somebody in our company. It sounds right. I would imagine you would have a lot. So yeah, that
It's a shame.
It- I was going to say that, but I'm glad he said.
I'm going to talk a little. We'll talk a little bit here about hardware on the computer side of things and end of life on the computers. Something I just learned in the past few months that I didn't know. We supply Dell computers. Dell considers their computers to be end of life after 5 years. So after 5 years, you may not be able to get parts. You may not be able to get support for your Dell computers. I didn't know that until just recently when I was asking questions about computers. We recommend every 3 to 5 years for a computer replacement. Computers fail. That's one of the most common things we have. It's better to replace a computer before it fails instead of, oh my gosh, trying to scramble. Prevents loss of data, potential loss of data, any compliance issues with that. Prevents downtimes by replacing early. We can do computer replacements within a day. If we're doing it remotely, we can change out a computer in 3 or 4 hours, get all your data moved over and everything. You're probably not going to have more than a few minutes of data loss in that case because the PLC stores the data as a backup. Really, the only time the computers are not collecting data is when you're physically unplugging one and plugging in the new. If you have space, you can plug them both in at the same time. So there's a few logistical things with replacing a computer. We provide, as Walt mentioned earlier, our computers have 3-year warranty. One thing I will clarify on that, we're basically extending you the Dell warranty. So the warranty starts when the computer ships to us. Not a big deal if you're buying a replacement computer because we only hold it for about a week and then, get it set up, do a burn in on it and ship it off to you. For a systems project, that's a little bit bigger deal because we may have it for 3 months before we ship it out with the shelter. We try and really balance that because the warranty does start when we get the computer. Longer warranties are available. We can get a Dell warranty up to 5 years. So if you want a longer warranty on the computer, we can get that for you, obviously at additional cost. And as I mentioned, we go out for both, remote assistance for swapping out a computer, or we can send a tech to site and they can just do everything for you. Again, under a day to install a new computer for that. As we talked about, Kevin mentioned yesterday, Charlie from the EPA mentioned from yesterday, ECMPS is being re-engineered. That will mean a new version of Bree 75. It's currently scheduled for release in Q1 2024. I've been telling people that's Q1 2024 reporting period. Sounds like from yesterday that may not be accurate. It may actually be the Q4 2023 reporting period. Kind of in the gray area there. I don't think Charlie really knew which way it was. We'll find out more from the EPA on that and give you updates on that when we have more information from the EPA. They've already delayed it a year. I don't think anybody mentioned that yesterday. It was originally scheduled to go Q1 2023. They've already pushed it a year on their ECMPS. One thing, an additional point I'll note on that, the EPA is said they are switching everybody in the same quarter. Not like the MDC updates where you had a year, a window to update. Everybody will need to update Q1 2024. That's going to be a nightmare. So that's why I asked him yesterday, can we get an extension on that 30-day submission window? Because we're talking, we have 300 or whatever, however many odd sites that are Part 75. Okay, all of those need to upgrade. Well, okay, there's 6,000 some odd units across the country that need to upgrade. I'm sure the EPA is going to be overwhelmed for that. But that's the key difference between when we went from MDC to ECMPS 2007, 2008. We had a big, you can switch over the course of a year. Everybody has to go the same quarter. So planned new version of Breeze, Q1 2024, unless the EPA pushes it again. That update will require a new SQL Server 2016 or later. Most of you are already on SQL 2016. If you were one of our earlier customers to Cedar 5, you may still have a SQL 2014 license. Just an additional thing to account for in your budgeting. It will require 2016. Probably not an issue for most of you, but definitely something we need to pay attention to. Cedar 4. I don't think anybody in this room has Cedar 4. If you have sister plants that are still running Cedar 4, it's no longer supported. Reached end of life last year. We don't support it anymore. You can't modify it for permanent logic. You can't modify it for reports or things like that, anything with that. We're not going to help you if your computer dies. We're going to tell you have to buy Cedar 7 before we'll help you, which happened recently. It was a customer in New York. They had their original, Walt will get a kick out of this. They had their original Premio computer from 2001. It lasted 20 years on their computer before it died. They were still running Cedar 4 on it. And they called us up, my computer died, my computer died. I'm like, what? You're aware we don't support that version anymore. They numerous emails and numerous conversations with them. So if you have sister plants, if you know of people that have Cedar 4 running, we don't support it. That's a big deal. For the last point here, the new version of Bree 75X for the new ECMPS will not run on Cedar 4. You have to upgrade to Cedar 7, Cedar 8 for the new version of Breeze. So this is as much for the people that are viewing the slides on the internet afterwards as anybody in this room. But if you have, like I said, sister plants that are still running Cedar 4, get them to upgrade. We do have probably 20 sites that are still running Cedar 4 that I just don't know if they're still around. Half a dozen of those are Part 75 sites, so it is an issue. So wanted to raise that. Any questions?